So, hey guys, Chauzu here. So we just today got the full confirmation of the new Year Super-Sugo Fest, and it's going to be the 3 units we expected from the hints, well, I expected at least, as well as a surprise 6+. Yes, let's just quickly review what units we're talking about. In this video I'm going to quickly summarize what the new Super-Sugo Fest Roger and Oden will do, what the new Super-Sugo Fest duo Yamato will do, what the new Super-Sugo Fest Zoro and Sanji will do, as well as what the 6+ Super-Sugo Fest Dex Law will do. So that's a welcome surprise with the Dex Law, but we take it. So here we're going to go through them one at a time, and it will be more like initial impressions, quickly what they do, and then I'll do deep dives into all of these 4 until the Sugo drops. So first we have the Roger and Oden, which is a slasher striker, and this is a fake duo unit, so the first fake duo unit Super-Sugo we get. They have a Rush, which is interesting of course, and an EX Super. I like to start with the special, so let's do that. So basically this is a combination of V1 Oden and V1 Roger. So like V1 Roger, you can resist anything the enemy removes once per quest. Quick and slasher 5.5 times attack, 1.5 times HP for quick and slasher, that is. Slashers strength loss are turned into 1 orbs, kind of like V1 Oden. You can completely ignore the spear like V1 Roger. And if you use the special, you get a buff captain ability for 3 turns, just like V1 Roger. And also, when a slasher character with a critical attack potential ability performs a critical hit, you apply some extra resistance. Very memey, I think, but a nice bonus. And obviously quick and slasher gets 6 times attack instead, which is a more modern multiplier of course. I realize my head might be in the way, but I'm not used recording like this, so we'll take it one step at a time. So captain ability, not much to complain about, 2 good units combined, but it's also 3-year-old units, so that's worth keeping in mind. Like if you're a quick and slasher, you're eating basically. Special, 1.5 million damage to all enemies, ignoring everything, including normal attacks only, so that's great. If character slot is 1-0 and special is launched, quick type slasher characters gets a 3.25 times attack boost for 1 turn, and quick and slasher characters get 2.75 times attack each. So if you're not both, you still get 2.75 times attack. Quick slots are turned into 1 orbs. This is like V1 Oden, where they are permanently changed for a few turns, 2 turns in this case. You also change crew's matching slots to quick. So this is like V1 Oden before he got buffed with the 6+. It means that if a strength unit has a strength orb, it becomes quick and then 1, so super gimmicky, I'd say. It was one of the reasons why V1 Oden was not that well liked all of the time, not that meta when he released. And if you dealt over 10 million damage before using the special, quick type slash characters get 3 times slot effects for 3 turns, and quick and slash characters get a 2.75 times orb boost for 3 turns. Otherwise, it's just a 1-turn orb boost. So basically, if they have a 1 orb, they give an attack boost to quick and slasher. They always give an orb boost to quick and slasher. If you dealt enough damage, it becomes a 3-turn boost. And if you are quick and slasher, you get extra damage. That's basically it. So no utility at all, which is unfortunate, except for the normal attack only piercing damage. Before talking about the unit, let's just read everything. Crewmate ability, quick slots and character type slots and matching slot effects, you're going to see a lot more of these cheating crewmate abilities going forward. Also base stat boost 150. Support really good for slashers. Basically on the final stage, quick type slashers get a 2.25 time attack boost, and quick and slashers get a 1.75 times attack boost. So yeah, just guaranteed extra damage, and if you happen to be quick slasher, you get a really good attack boost. So yeah, I think this will see some decent uses in stuff like parking adventures and such. Not a bad support at all, can be put on any slasher too. EX Super, if you have 5 slashers on the crew with quick attack potential ability, this is just an extra way of activating it. It will be really hard to accomplish that. You can also have 2 specific units, and they are pretty lenient. As you can see, it's a big list of units that you can use, so shouldn't be a huge problem to make use of it. And the EX Super changes top row character slots to Wano, and this is their way of guaranteeing the Wano orb for their special. Changes middle row and bottom row character slots, including block slots, to character's own type. This means that when you use their special, they will get 1 orbs guaranteed no matter what the color. Locks crew slots for 1 turn, so you keep the 1 orbs. Boost right column character base attack by plus 2000 for 1 turn. Kind of weird, like Oden used to do it for top row base attack boost, now it's just right column. Quick becomes super quick, and slasher becomes super slasher. Yeah, it's solid. And finally, the rush. I haven't had time to look into just how good this rush is. We'll have to save that for the deep dive. But it's if you hit 2nd or 3rd, which is interesting, which means you can proc a Super Tandem first and then move into Roger Oden to get the extra damage on their rush. And just like the last one, you do have quite a few options here. I will be looking into who of these can be part of the Super Tandem, which will be pretty important, I think. Not many of these units listed are very meta in Super Boss, which makes me feel like this rush will probably not see that much use in Super Boss in general, especially since the units here are not likely to get any more legends now when we're finally leaving Wano. But yeah, 2 times rush attack boost plus 0.5 chain. I honestly don't remember what Sanji does, which is Sanji and Kaido does. So I need to compare to them. I'll do that later, but yeah, rush looks interesting, but I doubt it will be meta relevant for stuff like Super Boss. Overall, pretty interesting unit, probably the weakest of the new units, but that's kind of to expect when you combine 2 very old legends together. But like, they are interesting, good support, but like they have some utility as captain, of course, with the spear and such, but the special has no utility, while it has good damage and such. 1 orbs only also is kind of hard for stuff like Super Boss, when you want tandem orbs, so you can probably play around that too a bit. So yeah, I'm going to give some more thought into these 2. With that said, let's move on so this video doesn't become way too long. Duo Yamato, Striker Slasher. 1 Yamato is Dex, 1 is Quick, and they have a final tap and then EX Super. So basically it looks like they're going with the different forms with Yamato, but it's basically that 1 form is like Soan and 1 is the hybrid, so it's just aesthetics apparently, which is like the biggest bummer with this unit, together with one more thing we'll get into. Let's start with the captain again. -1 CD at start of the quest. They get a -5 CD at start of Battle of 3, which is very interesting. And the rest of the crew also gets -1 CD instead. So -2 CD captain, -6 to themselves basically, which is very dope. Striker and slashers 1.5 times HP, 6 times attacks. Other characters gets 5 times attacks, so if you're not striker and slasher. Striker and slasher dex quick recover 10 of slots, have matching slot effects. Reduces bind by 10 turns, of course it's a Yamato unit. If a striker or slasher crewmate uses a special, you reduce their swap by 1, super swap gauge basically, and adds 10% attack to crew's next final tap. And basically you're going to be seeing this. This unit has a lot of ways to getting that new ability of stacking future damage to the final tap, and that's basically the main gimmick of this unit. Basically everything it does adds to the final tap gauge, which Yamato can use since Yamato has final tap. Special, this is a double character special, which you need a super swap to get into. I also want to note that apparently the super swap is 9, so this unit will be a nightmare as a sub, but as you saw as captain, when you use a special you reduce the gauge, a bit more realistic to get into it, but still it does mean you're forced to use Yamato as captain to use properly. So it's a bummer that they keep doing this. Deals a lot of damage to all enemies, reduces damage reduction by 7 turns, applies -20% striker and slasher resistance to all enemies for 1 turn, boosts the color affinity of striker and slasher by 2.75 times for 1 turn, and if enemy has increased damage taken status when special is launched, increases all enemies increased damage taken effect to 2.25 times, and further increases crew's type effect boost by plus 0.25. That's interesting. I actually realized I didn't read this special properly before. This is my first time reading it. So basically, if you already have increased damage taken from like the 6+ law we're getting, it gets better and you get the buffed color affinity, but otherwise you still get a 1.75 times increased damage taken through full immunity, so still pretty solid. So some color affinity and potentially increased damage taken and some utility and some resistance. So yeah, should be a good filler for Super Boss. Is probably the idea. The main weakness is that it's striker and slasher, which are not the most relevant colors for Super Boss. Not being free spirit hurt this Yamato a lot, of course. At least in terms of Super Boss. Striker and slasher, 150 attack. -1 CD every time a striker or slasher uses a special. I wish this was for the super swap gauge as well, but alas, nope. Swap, completely removes characters to spear slot bind. Change character slots, including block slots, to Wano. And boost the attack of the next final tap performed by crew by 5%. And this is the same as the captain ability. You can keep stacking this and it can go up to 200%. Maybe the captain thing is not part of this exact gauge. I need to read up onto this more, but basically everything Yamato does increases damage to the final tap. Super swap is pretty similar. Yamato still gets a 1 orb. Adjacent orbs become tandem, including block. You get a 10% increase to the next final tap. You get more resistance applied, which is nice. And you become duo form for 3 turns as expected. Honestly, a very boring super swap that is also 9 CDs, so, or 9 swaps I should say. So not the biggest fan of this swap overall. EX Super, you need to be duo form and have 3 specific units, so yeah, it's a nightmare to get, but it's at least very easy units to get. But you need to remember, slasher striker units, so that's probably not going to be a Luffy or a Usopp or a Sanji, so it's a bit more limited when you think about it in that way. The EX Super reduces CD by 2 turns, reduces damage by 70% for 1 turn, and you get 10% more damage to the final tap, locks crew slots for 1 turn, and Striker becomes Super Striker and Dex Super Dex. Kind of weird that it's not Striker and Slasher personally, but sure, since it's Quick and Dex, so you're not guaranteed to be Dex with Yamato. Then we have the final tap, which is actually really strong, not gonna lie, probably one of the best ones. You do need 3 specific units though, and they are even more specific here. It needs to be Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sunny, Chopper, Robin, Frankie, Brook, Jinbei, Oden. So yeah, going to be hard to fit 3 of these, especially when being Striker Slasher. But of course, as Yamato is a sub, it's not as important to fulfill that. But as also said, Yamato is hardly optimal as sub. Change character slots including block to 1-0 and boost character base attack by plus 700 for 1 turn. Oh, I looked at the wrong one. That's the same for level 5 at least. And boost crew's attack based on 200% of the damage reduction effect applied. So if you have a 70% damage reduction, you get a 2.4 attack boost. And of course, with the EX Super, you can get that 70% damage reduction. So yeah, that's a very powerful effect. It's basically Luffy Yamato final tap on steroids. And that final tap was honestly pretty decent damage in a vacuum. So this is much better than that. And the whole kit of the unit is to increase the damage further. So going to be one of the hardest hitting final taps. But my main issue with this unit is that this is purely a super boss unit. And it's a super boss unit they want you to be captain preferably. And if they are captain, then it's the Striker Slasher problem, not the best class, especially when using with Straw Hats. And if you instead use them as sub, you have that very big issue with 9 super swaps needed for super swaps. So yeah, it's honestly not my favorite. And I'm so disappointed because I was hoping they would get a cool form change Yamato, but it's just aesthetics. As you can see, there's nothing in the kit that is any different with the forms or anything like that. So yeah, it's super strong potentially, but yeah, I don't have much hype for it. At least it's a bummer it turned out like this. But let's move on to the star of the batch, which is the Zoro and Sanji. And they are going with that wings thing with them, which is a pretty obvious theme. They have Super Tandem and EX Super, so as expected, we did get an Rush Super Tandem Final Tap Batch for New Year. It's just that instead of a hype cross skill, we're getting this. And let's be real, we have 2 kind of misses so far, but thankfully this is kind of a hit at least, so kind of saves it, and they are the only unit here I feel I really have to pull. But yeah, they are also Dex Quick, so that's pretty fitting colors for Zoro and Sanji. Captain ability, the most boring part of the unit. They have a very ancient captain ability where you have to be fighter, slasher, striker, shooter driven, and free spirit. One of these, you can't be one of the missing ones, which is basically powerhouse. And I'm not sure what the next one is. Yeah, if you're the powerhouse or that other class not included, you only have 2.45 times attack captain ability. So yeah, not that great. But if you have both 2 of these 6, you get a 6 times attack captain ability. Dex Quick Recovery Tandem have matching slot effects. You can consume recovery slots with perfects. You reduce fear by 10 turns for the whole crew. So this is a completely new captain ability, and it's basically the star of the captain. Not sure how super used it will be. Fear is pretty non-common, but it does give some more option to handle fear, which is cool. And you can also overheal. So yeah, probably the worst captain ability of the batch, but at least they don't have to be captain, so that's cool. Their double unit special is, or duo unit. 300 times their damage to all enemies, ignoring all defensive effects and defense. Reduces threshold and death up by 7 turns, so that's some great utility too. Further increases attack and ore boost by plus 0.5. Boosts the chain multiplier by 1.75 times, so that's a chain multiplier boost, so pretty rare, and it's one of the highest I've seen. Not sure I've seen this high before, 1.75 times. And you get a plus 2.0 chain boost for 1 turn. And if Captain is Slasher or Free Spirit class, the entire crew changes their classes to being first a Slasher and then a Free Spirit. So that's actually pretty insane and goes super well with their EX, of course. So we talked a bit about Yamato, about there not being any Slasher Luffy. Well, there is Slasher Luffy's now because of this. So basically, if you use that Yamato for Super Boss, they want you to use this Zoro as well to get something going at all, basically. So that's a very cool, unique mechanic and some good change, good damage, good utility. So yeah, nothing to complain about with the duo form unit of this special, but we still don't know the single form. I'm not seeing it at least, so we're going into that in my deep dive later. And they actually have a special as a sailor, like it's getting insane, these sailors now. Recover tandem matching as sailor for the entire crew. Takes quick matching for Zoro Sanji. Only Zoro Sanji can obtain recovery with perfects. And if Captain is Slasher Free Spirit, you also add plus 0.1 to the chain multiplier minimum. And it's stackable. I guess it's a chain boost. And they also reduces the spear by 1 turn as sailor. So as you can see, there's a lot of privilege with this legend for sure. A lot of privilege. Oops. There we go. Swap. Changes adjacent slots to tandem. And boost crew's attack and ore boost by 1.3 times for 1 turn. Let's check both before talking about them. Super swap. Changes crew slots including block to tandem. Boost crew's attack and ore boost by 2.25 times for 1 turn. And they can also be overwritten. And it becomes Zoro Sanji for 3 turns. So, first, these swaps make sense together with the special since they buff ore boost and attack boost. So 2.75 times is pretty solid. And if you have a higher attack or ore boost from a special, you don't have to worry about the swap, you overwrite it. And you can still buff it with the special. But the real star of this unit is the swap. When I read the swap, I knew I have to pull them. It's the first adjacent slots to tandem manip in the game, and this is huge for super tandem. Not just for this batch, but for like every unit who has got a super tandem and can't get a tandem orb reliably. Just add Zoro and Sanji to the team and you can get tandem orbs reliably now. And of course we have a mini Roger Whitebeard with attack and ore boost. It's just 1.3 times, but the big upside is that you don't have to keep the attack and ore boost. So it's a lot more flexible as well. So basically this swap is on the same level as Roger Whitebeard. Maybe even better since you can reliably add units that has super tandem, but not reliably. And now suddenly Zoro Sanji can make any super tandem reliable, which yeah, makes them one of the best subs in the game for sure. Like that's crazy. EX Super. You have to be in duo form. And need 3 specific units, and these are the Straw Hats and a lot of the Wano crews, so as expected. Probably going to be easy to fulfill. You also get an increased chain growth rate here. So that goes well with their special. You basically have every relevant chain buff except for chain boundary on the unit. Slashers become Super Slasher and Free Spirit becomes Super Free Spirit, and this is super good of course since they change every unit to Slasher Free Spirit. So every unit on the crew gets double superclass boost. That's going to be an insane extra stat boost to units. So this could keep this unit relevant for a long time to come, since well, imagine a super boss, for example, with boosted stats, and then you add super claws on top of that. So yeah, going to be really strong. The main thing stopping this unit from being like the best unit in super boss is the super tandem. It's not bad on paper since you have so many units to pick from, and you only need 2 specific ones. You need to run a Luffy or Yamato though, so that's the main issue, but you will usually have a Luffy on a team, so it's not a big deal. If you have a Gear 5 want to use the rush, then it becomes a bigger deal, but... And it doesn't even have to be the new Yamato, it can be an old Yamato as well. There's a lot of Yamatos to use. But the main issue with this unit is that it only does an attack boost. It's a good attack boost, 2.5 times for Slash Free Spirit, so for everybody with their special. But then they changed the attack multiplier of slots. But one of the most relevant units, Gear 5, already has this. And unlike the strongest Super Tandem users, so Super Tandem Zoro and Nami, they don't buff the damage against with conditionals, which is why their Super Tandem was a lot stronger. So I'd say this is the third strongest Super Tandem in the game after Zoro and Nami. So if you already have one of them or both, it's not as high priority. But honestly, they are so good, so if I get lucky with pulling them, I might try and rainbow them anyway. But this is like the only bleach on their record, as well as having a, I don't know if I've said this, but it's a 7 super swap. It's not as bad as 9, thank God, but there's nothing in the kit to help them get the super swap. But thankfully they are not as reliant on the super swap. Like the special is mostly for super boss and stuff like that. In normal content, you will mainly want this really good swap. So I'll wait for full info with the normal special before giving a final verdict here. I've been talking for almost half an hour, but we got one legend left, so let's get into it. We got a 6+ version of the Super-Sugo Fest Law. So he hasn't changed anything, still Dex Cerebral Slasher with a final tap and barrier pen and super type and everything. So let's jump into it. Dex Cerebral Slasher 5.75 times attack when HP is full, otherwise 5.25 times attack. 1.3 times HP, Strength Quick Slot and Matching Slot effects. Heal crew by 0.5 times, charge recovery for every perfect end of turn, and you can overheal. So overheal and higher numbers is the only new thing, but it does make him more realistic to use as cap, so I guess we take those. Overheal is nice with this cap since, yeah, you need to be full HP to get the full numbers as well. Special got a huge glow up though. 20% HP cut, ignoring all defensive effects. Dex Cerebral Slashers 2.7 times attack for 2 turns. I think it was 1 turn before, so 2 turns is a huge buff. If Captain Slot is Dex or Wano, you apply increased damage taken to all enemies by 1.75 times for 1 turn, ignoring immunity to status effects. Otherwise, 1.5 times increased damage taken. So basically, you can get higher increased damage taken if you have a Dex 1 orb than usual. Would have liked if it was Dex Tandem 1, but we take it. If Frank Captain Slot is Tandem or Recovery, you boost Dex character super type effects for 1 turn and boost damage dealt to effective types by 3 times for 1 turn. So basically they're adding more value to the unit. Now he gets another semi-unique buff. The only other one with this effect is Kid Law, who are not Dex. So this is first Dex to get this. Obviously if you run Gear 5 you can get Kid Law for every color, but this is just one more option. So cool, since you can already get an attack boost, increased damage taken, and we can also get this unique effect which makes this Law more usable versus Super Boss. But not super relevant versus normal content. Like the extra damage from increased damage taken is always a good thing, but no utility from special or captain is a bummer, of course. And yeah, no big changes to the sailors. Support has not really changed, might be higher numbers, I'm not sure. Super type, I think it's same as before, one of the supernovas. They've added Corazon, I think, so that's cool. Some utility now, reduce paralysis attack down by 3 turns, but you still have the heal, and you change block slots to matching and lock them. So I think the only new thing is the utility, maybe the heal is a bit bigger, but yeah, at least they have some utility as captain, at least with the super type. But just 3 turns can be helpful, but you probably can't get away with only this. At least Law has support to remove paralysis and or attack down. Not in one support, but he has for both. So that's like an improvement too. Final tap, they made the numbers a bit bigger. I think it was 3 times max before. I might be wrong. I need to double check this later. But yeah, they didn't change him so much, but they changed basically they made it so he's possible to be good versus super boss again. That's basically it. I might have some potential use in other content with the utility and super type. He already saw some use since he had so much damage in one special, and since he does an HP cut, you can put like Zoro support on him, you get attack boost or boost increased damage taken for dex, so that's always been pretty good. So potentially even better now. But yeah, as said, I'm going to talk about all of these 4 individually in the videos the coming days, so look forward to that. But yeah, I've been talking for over half an hour, so I'm going to call it quits now. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.